So you've decided to get another Harley Davidson, and you have two bikes available in your price range today. You have a Sport Glide or a Lowrider. Well, I've been in this situation just this year, and I've compared them both. Hey guys, today on Riding with Marshall, we're going to be riding a bike I'm interested in. Well, I'm interested in many of them, but this is one I'd almost maybe even consider getting, and that is a Harley Lowrider. So here are the two that I compared, and let's see which one I buy. Now both of these are in the Softail family, which the word Softail is really only true in looks alone, as both bikes have adopted the monoshock design that metric bikes have used since Yamaha started it in 1974. Gone are the two hidden shocks underneath and behind the engine. The front forks on the Sport Glide are Showa, which is a company owned by Honda. Neither are CVOs, and the Lowrider is a standard model, not the S model. So they should be comparable. Both engines are the Milwaukee 8 107 cubic inch, and both are used bikes. I've ridden several Milwaukee 8s before. I kind of know what I expect. We will leave prices out of the equation for now, because I wouldn't make a decision just based on the price. Which one would you choose? Opinions on Harley Davidsons could start a civil war on anything as simple as a paint color, but feel free to post your choice in the comments. First up is the Lowrider, a 2019 in Twisted Cherry. This is the bike the dealer advertised at near NADA value, and I'm very interested in it. I'm trying to wrap my head around the color. It's a deep red, but almost too dark for my preference. The Lowrider is a nostalgia design, tossed back from the 70s, and the older I get, the more I'm okay with it. Everything on it looks stock except the windshield. The windshield was obviously an add-on, but it looks to be a Harley Davidson windshield. The Milwaukee 8 107 should put out about 86 horsepower, but that's its peak, and I won't get all that to the rear wheel. The torque is over 100 foot-pounds though, so pulling away from a green light will be a small rush. The exhaust isn't loud, but it is pleasant, with a deep, rich tone. The seat height is 26 inches, so if you're 6 foot tall, you might prefer the forward controls of the Sport Glide better. Now I'm 5'10", so I can actually go either way on these bikes. And at home, I've got forward controls on some bikes and mid controls on others. Let's take this Lowrider for a ride. The first thing to notice is the mid controls, meaning the foot pegs place you at a kitchen chair riding position. Some will find that uncruiser-like, and a lot of people can get really vocal about it. But it really depends on how you ride. If all you want for a bike is gliding along long miles on mostly straight roads, then a Glide might be all you need, as that is the intention of a Glide class bike. The Lowrider is really an odd name in this contest though. With a ground clearance of 5.1 inches, it can out-sport ride the Sport Glide in the twisties and mountain passes. And with mid-controls, you can stand up to go over rough patches and railroad tracks. This makes the Lowrider more of an all-around bike. Like always, you can add highway bars with forward highway pegs to cruise along the long riding days, and I actually prefer that. I like having a choice of places to put my feet, not just the one spot that the forward controls are set. The Sport Glide has 4.7 inches, so you are bound to bottom out on rough roads a little sooner than the Lowrider, and the lean angle will be a lot less before grinding expensive parts into the pavement. Now, Harleys overall are not known for their lean angles, So if you can squeeze 30 degrees out of a lean angle on a bike, you're doing pretty good, and you're more likely to do that with the lowrider. The tech on both machines is just a couple of gauges on the tank, and they're out of your normal view. So point to that if you're pulled over. Sorry, officer, my speedometer's way down here. The bars are up and back, but not quite enough for me, as I often whine about. This particular bike has an added removable windshield, but I'm getting a little buffeting from its position. I could just raise it, but the lock on it prevents me from moving it up, because I need the key. And the lowrider doesn't come with any storage, but you can find bags for sale everywhere on Craigslist. The lowrider has stiff and non-adjustable suspension. You will feel the bumps more than the Sport Glide, but the stiffness helps in sport riding. They should have named this bike the Sport Rider, but the lowrider name goes back to 1977, and the culture is all about buying nostalgia. So, nostalgia is marketed directly to the culture. The engine is providing vibration into the seat and bars for some reason, which is highly unusual for a Milwaukee 8 engine. That has my attention. Let's see if it's the same on the Sport Glide. The Sport Glide came out in 2018, is lower to the ground, and with forward controls should be roomier. It has a small fairing to block some wind, and I say some wind, and some very plastic-looking side cases, but that's better than nothing. This particular bike was pinstriped by renowned artist Mark Brody. Under the seat is the adjustment for the monoshock. At the handlebars is the top reason I should choose this bike. It has cruise control. Now sure, I can get by with a throttle lock, as I often do on my Fury, but having stock cruise is so much less fuss. Sure, you can add it, but there's a whole thick catalog of what you can add to a Harley, and that rabbit hole goes as deep as your wife's savings account. What I'm noticing right away is this Sport Glide has a smoother running engine. How can that be? It's the same exact engine on both bikes, right down to the year. I'll give you the same clue I got near the end of the video. Once again, I'm wishing the bars came back further to match my seating position. I must have short arms or something. With the forward foot controls, this bike feels longer and more spacious. Being 2+ inches closer to the ground feels a little more relaxed also. The cruise control works fine, but the fairing doesn't. Do you hear all the wind? That's wind hitting my helmet. Although the fairing is blocking wind off my chest, it is directing the rest into my helmet. A classic windshield would be a better idea. The ride is quite smooth, and the better suspension is evident. So, which one should I buy? Which one do I have to customize the least to fit what I want? I'm pretty picky. I've ridden over 100 bikes, I've owned over 20, and I know what I like. Both bikes need new bars for my old man comfort preferences. The lowrider has the very windshield I want, if the dealer has the key to it. The Sport Glide has a fairing I would replace. This Sport Glide is black denim, and black is my least favorite color for a Harley because it is so common. It has scratches all along one side case cover, although I didn't get you a photo of it. They said the cover fell off while the bike was cruising. If the cover can fall off while the bike is moving, it can happen once, it can happen twice, right? How many hundreds is the side case cover, including getting the pinstriping to match it? The Sport Glide was considerably more expensive than the lowrider too, by thousands. So I looked over the lowrider again. I like the mid pegs because I can stand up on them. I can add used highway pegs for cheap. Then I noticed a dent in the gas tank. Then there's the rough running engine. I asked about that. It turns out the bike is priced to sell, as all bikes should be, because it's a repossession, as all bikes shouldn't be. Maybe the previous owner abused the engine, ran it without oil to sock it to the dealer, didn't follow break-in protocol, Who knows why the engine's running rough? I'd have to have it looked into. More importantly, how much will it cost me to restore that engine? And then there is the date on both bikes. I believe both are 2019. The Milwaukee 8 engines had an undercapacity oil pump until the 2020 model. This results in too much oil in the sump, not enough reaching the top end. This eats your power and causes premature wear. They also had insufficient crankcase breathing, not enough venting for the gases that build up in the crankcase. That can be fixed with a vented dipstick, though, and they shouldn't cost too much. And then there's the horsepower. The Milwaukee 107 has an engine displacement just 5 cubic inches shy of my Goldwing, but the horsepower is just, in a word, adequate. I don't know the dyno, but to the rear wheel it's probably only 75 or so. Fun, but not overly impressive enough to buy one when I'm used to more powerful machines. So now I'm asking, do I want either one at this point? The new Lowrider S has a 114 in it, but they cost $20,000 new and add $1,000 for dealer fees, or $3,000 if you're at the wrong dealer. After looking around the dealership, I decided on a bike that has 115 horsepower, bars in the right place for my arms, and absurd looks. After haggling, and more haggling, and then being a submissive puppy in the finance room, I rode away with my 2003 Anniversary Edition V-Rod. Although I regret the loan numbers, I don't regret the bike choice. I'm not telling you to get a V-Rod. I'm telling you to weigh the pros and cons of each model for yourself. Both the Sport Glide and Lowrider will make many people happy, depending on expectations and comfort requirements. Just make sure you get a 2020 or newer model at or near NADA guide values. The number one mistake in buying a Harley is not the model, but the price you pay in the end. So keep your chin up, both in the curves of life and at the negotiating table. And keep your eyes open. Thanks for watching.